Well, hello, beautiful teachers. Welcome to the first in my 7 days for 7 days to Gamify series. This is a special celebration series because Vibrant Music Teaching, my games-based membership site, is almost 1 year old. I can't believe it. It kind of crept up on me, which kind of surprised me when it was a few weeks away, and I thought, oh my gosh, I have to do something special to say because I have loved running this site and I will continue to do it. It's not going anywhere. And it's just been a fantastic experience. So many amazing members now. I just want to be able to celebrate that with everyone by giving something back to you guys. So it's great to see a few of you joining in. Do say hi as you join. I'm going to let you in on this is all going to work because I have mentioned to those of you who knew about this in advance that there will be some prizes and some fun stuff happening. So I've got a training for you every single day. So starting today until the 18th, 7 days, and the 18th is the actual VMT birthday. And I've got a training for you every day and a prize every day. So you have the opportunity to win a prize, I should say. Today I'm giving away the prize, but it'll be the first opportunity to win. So you definitely want to stay tuned to hear how that's all going to go. I have my prizes here and they are colourful, as you might expect them to be if you know me. So we've got a blue one, an orange one, a yellow one, a pink one, a red one, and a green one. That's 6. And the 7th prize is 1 year annual VMT membership. It's just so you can actually see it. 1 year's VMT member for someone on the last day, on the actual birthday. Okay? So that's how it's all going to work. So the prizes rather. How's it going to work? You need to comment each day to prize the next day. So if you're watching this right now on the replay and you're, I missed the chance to get the prize. You didn't yet, unless our next video. Okay, so you basically have to comment before the next workday goes live. And that'll be about 24 hours, but not exactly because I varied the times of the workshops. So you want track of when all the things go live. You're going to want to go to vibrantmusicteaching.com/birthday and sign up to get the email updates because Facebook might tell you when I go live and it might not. Who knows? So you're going to want up on the email list. It's at vibrantmusicteaching.com/birthday. And that's the best way to stay up to date and to comment. Now, what do you need to comment? That's what you need to know right now. Well, I want to know the answer to this question, and I want to know it in this. So this is how you're going to write your comments every day to be in with to win the prizes. You can also write other comments just to say hi or to comment on talking about, but to get your entry into the competition, you're going to write VMT, big capital letters VMT, Color is which prize you want to get. If you don't write a color, I will pick it, but it's fun if you pick it yourself, I think. So you're going to write VMT and then color, and then you're going to write your answer to the question of the day. And the question of the day is, I want to know your biggest note struggle. What do your students struggle with? What do you struggle to teach? What's new about note reading teaching right now? And all that good. So leave your comments below, and if you're watching on the still leave them. I'll still get back to them. Don't worry, you haven't missed out. VMT, color, answer. Let me give you an example. I might write VMT, blue, students getting stuck in season. That's not a problem for me at the moment, but it's a one in the past. So that's my example for you. So VMT, color, answer. I want to know your biggest note reading struggle. Okay? But I promise you training too, right? Not just prizes. So, your training is all about gamifying note reading. So keep leaving your comments at VMT, the color you want to win, and then biggest note reading struggle. And I'm going to get started sharing with you my 3 stages to note reading success, or as I've called them in this sheet. There's 3 stages to amazing note ninjas. Who doesn't love a ninja? You can get that sheet, by the way. Subscribe to the email list. You'll automatically get a link. So that's at vibrantmusicteaching.com/birthday, or you can hop on over to those notes from today's workshop, right? And yeah, that way you can get that. Sorry, I haven't given you the link. vibrantmusicteaching.com/bday1. That's where you'll get the notes workshop. Sorry, talked in circles there because I was paying attention to the comments that were coming. So, Julie, VMT Blue, students get confused between treble and bass clef. Love it. Thank you, Julie. That's exactly to do it. Let's see another example. Cassia said, VMT Yellow, biggest struggle is finding gaps for transfer students. I talked about it on a recent webinar. Stephanie, the lovely Stephanie, VMT Yellow, quickly identifying note names on the staff. Great. And then Ria, one more, VMT Green, confusion between note and stems. Interesting one. Very interesting. Exactly what you're talking about. When stems direction on the same note. Who's writing music where they do that? That's annoying. I don't think I've ever seen that. But I know what you mean, because... Or maybe in multiple pieces where they've done it 2 different ways. Yeah, that can be a real struggle. Super difficult to deal with. So, if you walk through my 3 stages, I've found that these are where I have none problems come up. Now, when they're transfer students, someone mentioned there, that's a different story. And then you kind of need to walk gaps a little bit more incognito. But I'm going to assume for now that you've been a student from the start, okay? So in my book then, stage 1 is all about landmark notes intervals. That is my top priority in the beginning. I want to get landmark notes and only a few landmark notes, not even the full set, and then working with intervals. I do not want to identify all the notes all over the staff straight away. That is productive. It seems like a good idea, and you can teach it to them pretty fast. But, in the end, they don't understand the staff well as if you do it with these 3 stages, in my opinion. So, landmark and intervals. And the way I start landmark notes in interval work is I start with the floor staff. Now, I love my floor staff, and I use it for lots of, and landmark notes are just one of those things. So first we work on the landmark notes. I talk about them in terms of how they can find them and how they can figure them out. Very first thing to do is to make sure that they know what you mean when you say line note and space note. So I start with line notes and space notes, make sure they get what that is, and then we go on to the landmark notes. On the floor staff, this is just encountering, first meeting, I guess, of the landmark notes, only notes really, in my studio. And we start on the floor staff, and I get to place these big foam circles, you're going to see these in a second, these big foam circles on the specific notes that we start with. I ignore most of them. I start with bass C, bass F, middle C, treble G, treble C. Only 5. Ignoring the top line, the bottom line, and then the ledger line as well. Just starting with 5 landmark notes. If they know these, they're a great start and they're starting to understand how the stuff works. Just have a bit of confidence that they know these ones. Okay? They don't need to work out other notes from these. They don't need to understand anything else about it. Just these. And I start by showing them that the bass clef looks like an F and the treble clef looks like a G. Got it? I'm not sure if I do. But anyway, yes, that's what I start with, and that's how I discuss the landmark note beginning, and you're going to see that in a video that I'll show you in just a moment. And from there, which is also in the video, I was asking them to place notes specific interval away from the landmark notes. Starting on this big scale with the floor staff, I've found to be such a great way to get things going, because it's so tactile, they can move stuff around, totally can get inside it, like they can climb on it. It's a physical thing. It's not these little dots that all kind of look the same. You haven't looked at a staff much before, which they won't have. So I start in that way. And yeah, it helps them to get acquainted with it. I hopefully can drag in a film. No, I'm going to do it on the screen. Am I? You know what? I'm not going to do that screen because that's not going to work well, is it? So let me find it. You guys can let me know if you can't hear this, by the way. But you'll see the waving anyway. So that's my big floor stuff. Okay, so it seems like there's no sound, guys, so I'm going to put there. You saw us interacting on it, but I have to figure out how to make the sound work for next. I did that before and I thought I remembered how to do it, but I guess not. Basically what we're doing there is we're talking about the bass clef and how we join the dots up to the bass clef curve. It creates an F, and that's a handy way to remember that that points at the line. Many of you will have heard this trick before, but I know it's new to some. These random little things don't come up for some people, and they do. So that's a great trick. And then there's a G hidden in the treble, which is great as a way to remember that's the G line. So we talk about that, and then I get them to place them away from the landmark notes. So place this a second up, treble G, place this a third down from bass C, etc. So they're learning about how to position notes around the place and specific distance from notes and how the intervals function. Just little things, figuring out that you count one where the note actually is can make a big difference. Cassia said she never heard about the dot trick, so that's awesome. That was new for you. It's very handy. For some students, they just immediately latch onto it. Others, that won't be the thing for them, and that's fine. Having all these little hooks can give your student the opportunity that they need to catch into it to totally get the landmark note. So stage 1 has been all about landmark notes and intervals, and once they've gotten a little bit acquainted with this on the floor over several weeks, not at one lesson, I'm talking about weeks and weeks of, it gets faster and faster, but as they come in, going to be quickly reviewing where all the landmarks, placing them for me on the floor staff pretty fast, as the weeks go. And at least the first 10 weeks, they'd be doing this all the time, every single week, and placing those notes, different intervals from the various landmark notes. And then we can start doing some more games into that and practicing the landmark note more. So the first one I usually start with is this one. That's landmark landmines. They're moving in steps and skips, so we're using that in those two intervals, which is the most important in the beginning, and also the landmark notes along the way. But the landmark note naming is a bonus, so it's a great one for the beginning stages because they need to know it to be successful at the game. Can do it even faster. So they have that incentive, but they don't absolutely have to know the landmark notes yet. Then we'd move on to something like landmark NOs. This is where we have these sheets with landmark notes on them and the names. And X's and O's, which also is noughts and crosses, or tic-tac-toe, that's the other name. They're placing those on their little board to try and get 3 in a row, basically. And in this game as well, the teacher can do a lot of helping and say, okay, where is there a treble G? And take it very slowly. So in the beginning, it's not too independent, but actually over time, they can do that themselves. Then I'd move on to something like landmark heist. So this one, where is it gone? This one, they're cards. Now these, they do have to be quick because it's like snaps, so they have to slap their hand down on the landmark notes when they see them. So this is further along. They're starting to really get the landmark notes and be able to pick them out of other notes. They're going, that is not one I know, but that is, which is an important step forward. And then finally, as they start to know the landmark notes, I'd use something like top to tail. So this one, there's, I'm turning the wrong way. There's 10 lines, there's half, right? But it's cleftless, it's not got ends on it, nothing like that. So they add the clefs themselves, and then add the landmark notes as dictated by the cards. And in that one, the teacher again can decide how many or how landmark notes to use. So that's really handy if you're like me and you decide, that's great. If you start with all of them, if you start with one I haven't even mentioned, great, do that. There's no real rules. So this beginning stage that I used not to do, really. The landmark notes are working on intervals and focusing in on intervals for a long time, or requiring a student or ever asking a student, is this looking at a specific note? It does not matter what it is. I mean, if it's a starting note, it does, but in general, it doesn't. And that's not important information. What's more important is them reading fluently. So alongside all of this work, you need a great method book, a great series of pieces, whatever format they come in, that takes an interval approach. Because if it doesn't, then all of this is out. If it focuses in a way where they have note names from the start, this won't work. Because landmark notes can lead you to figure out all the notes. Some people will use that long term. That's great. But there's to focus in on intervals if they're also learning note names. And I think it's the right place to start because that's how we read. Actually, I mean, we can know the note names, but we read fast and we can say the note names. It is impossible to say all the note names as we play most pieces, right? So when we're reading by pattern, by interval, and that's why this is foundation to me. And note names come later, and when they come later, they make a lot more sense. The whole thing makes sense, and they're not about memorizing these different notes. That's not what it should be about. It should be about understanding the staff. So that's why landmark notes and intervals are the first, most important, and probably longest stage of this stage process. The next stage is to go to the full staff. Middle. Okay? So it's not going from base C now double C or going around middle C notes. I found that completely productive. It sends the message that other notes are hard, which they're not. are equally hard and easy. So that doesn't help anyone. And there's no actual reason why they can't figure out all the notes on this, because it's a logical system. There's a reason it's made this way, and it does sense. And I've found that when you try to memorize different notes in certain chunks, or using, only notes within the staff at first or whatever, it does send this message that it's hard when it's not like that, and that you need to remember individual notes. It's not the truth. Yes, they need to identify immediately individual notes eventually, but not straight away. Right? Let me know if you agree with that in the comments. Keep letting me know about your biggest note reading goals in this format to be in with a shot of winning the prize, the beautiful prizes here. So you're going to write VMT, then the colour present that you want me to open for you, which I'll be opening tomorrow if you are the winner, and VMT colour, so VMT or yellow or whatever, and then your answer to this question. Biggest note reading struggle your students struggling with right now. That's what I want to hear from you. And by the way, if you enter this one or any of the other ones through 7 days, you're automatically entered into the drawing for the final prize, which is the annual VMT membership. And just to note on that one, that's open to members and non-members. So if you're already a VMT member, don't worry, you can still win it. You just here for free. Awesome. Amazing. More VMT for you. If you're not a member, it would be a brand new subscription for you. So write those in the comments to be in with the chance of winning tomorrow and the week. Now, when it comes to teaching the full staff, there's different approaches, and I think there are several that are valid. I was going to say I don't think any of them. I do think some are wrong quite strongly, but I don't think there's one way. My favourite way is the way they teach in Piano Safari Book 2, which is Face Gibbity, as I call it. FACEGBD, GBD FACE, the skips alphabet. I call it Face Gibbity because I have a name that was inspired by this particular section of Piano Safari, learning the note names in this way, called Face Gibbity Gibbity Face. So Face Gibbity Gibbity Face is working on the space notes and the line notes and this pattern. Now, that doesn't mean the only way to learn the notes. The reason I like it is because it is not a mnemonic. So there's not an extra step. You don't have to remember, I don't know what would be a mnemonic for that. Father, I know the word face anyway, but you don't have to remember any kind of mnemonic and then back to the letter, because that's an extra step. That's unnecessary. You're just remembering the letters. Then it goes up the whole staff. That's my favourite part about it. So that's why different to the mnemonics for the lines and spaces, and the lines and space is they encourage you to go up the whole way. So it's the whole thing together, and that's what's so important about it. Continuing with just the landmark notes, having students work them out from there, I think that's great. I don't love mnemonics, but with a student who's been struggling, sometimes that can be the breakthrough they need. Most of the time, like I say, it adds that extra step between them figuring out what the note is, especially for younger students. We'd immediately be able to say that every starts with E, but they have to think about that. So why add extra work required to figure out the first letter of that word is, and then figure out whether there were lines and spaces, and so easy to get confused. And I get it, it does work. Those of you who are going to say, but mnemonics work. Yeah, they do. So do things. And other things work faster. I learned from mnemonics. I'm not saying they work. I eventually learned to read music, but I think I could have learned it faster. Not to start a mnemonic war. If you're into mnemonics, that's fine. The main thing when you're teaching the folk is that you have one method and stick at it until you're really not working for this student, but don't give them a bunch of different solutions. It's so tempting because we're like, oh, but this could work, but that, maybe they'll get it this way, maybe they'll get it that way. But really what they need is practice one system and one system only. So I stay Gibbity. They already know their landmark notes, that's great, and they can identify immediately already. But Face Gibbity is a great way to get us across the whole staff and Face GBD, I should say. And Face Jibbity Jibbity Face would be the first game to practice that. And I have a whole video about that on the Colourful Keys YouTube channel if you want to look it up. From there, we need more interval practice and more practice with the full staff. So I'd be working on games like interval, sprinterval, schminterval. Let's see if we can see the whole thing of this on the screen. Probably not. If I lean back, there we go. This way, obviously. Oh, that way. So they're working their whole way up the staff. They're using the interval cards to go up the staff. And then I have games work on intervals in another way where they're matching intervals. So like matching seconds all over the staff, And I think it's really, really crucial that they both ways. Interval, sprinterval is a great one to do at first because they can tap and count it out. So they're on the board and they can tap out 1, 2, 3, 4. And see how they started on 1, where they were, etc. Games like Interval Bob and other ones like that are great for them seeing how the patterns are similar but they look different. So space to line is the same as line to space, fourths. You know, cutting all of these things together is so important. So working on the intervals, we're continuing to do that as we move forward and we're expanding outrange to the full staff. It's really important at this stage to approach the staff from all different angles because I want them to have a full understanding of it. They are not just identifying notes from note spellers, they are everything all together and piecing it all together that way. So I would start with drawing, or I say start, I could do any order. I don't know if you could hear how loud that Velcro was, but I keep these in a little pouch, that's what the sound was. And these are cards. These are Spell a Staff cards, and they work like, so they're naming them. This is like note spellers, but fun. I'm sure some people love note spellers, that's totally fine. But these are reused, so better for the environment. So they're little cards, I laminate them, and then we use white markers or dry erase markers and write on them. And I have this version, and I also have the version where the note word made up of notes, like face or whatever, is written there, and then they have to draw it. So draw it as well as just naming them, again, allows them, like the floor, to get inside it, to understand it in a more thorough way. Then we want to do flashcards. Flashcards are not left out of the equation, they're just only part of the picture, not the whole thing. And my favourite way to work flashcards is 6-second challenge. I keep turning that the wrong way. This is our level, this is the full staff, and it's silver. And they have to name all of these notes and play them on the piano. That part is crucial. Don't forget that part. They have to be playing them as well. We'll get to that more in a second. But naming them, and they're trying to do it under 60 seconds. If they do it under 60 seconds, 3 in a row, they get their name on my challenge board and that special sticker for the front folder. And to find out more about that, just look up my challenge board posts if you have that already. Then, completely different approach. This is a game called Closer Look, and in this one we're focused on those notes, which maybe some of you have mentioned. I haven't seen a comment about it, but a lot of members were mentioning that students were mixing up certain notes, like A line bass clef with E bottom line treble clef, etc., etc., right? Notes like that that are kind of opposites of each other, or they look the same in some way and they're easily confused. That's what Closer Look is for, and then in that game it's totally speed-based. They sort it as quickly as possible into the correct piles and throw away the ones, any of the letters on the board. So they have to move pretty fast, especially when it's students together and they try to beat each other. Then again, I don't have any note naming games, but another great one to use when they're doing staff is this guy. And actually, I've gotten a lot of comments from students recently about this one. They said, oh, it's like, what did they say it was like the other day? Pac-Man. I was like, it's more like Space Invaders. She said, what Space Invaders? So they'd heard of Pac-Man, but not Spaces. I guess that's kids these days. Anyway, so a video game, retro-style video game look. But the point of it is, it's called Double or Nothing. And they have 2 notes on every card. They can choose whether to name 1 or 2. If they name 2 correctly, they get double roll on this. If they name one correctly, they get one roll. But if they try two and get nothing, it's nothing. So they don't move at all. It's just a little test, hidden test, to see whether they are confident with the notes as everything else. Are they confident enough to always go for two? If they are, great, you're doing awesome, and they're well on their way to being note nips. By the way, if you want these notes again, that link on the screen. These are the notes from today. So all the games I'm mentioning, all the everything, including links to the video, didn't have sound, are at, where are we? Vibeteaching.com/bday1. bday1. That's how to get them from today. And also, if you're on the email list, you'll get a link to those anyway, so don't worry. Okay, so that is working on the notes. But as I mentioned with 60-second, a really important of this is they're working on the notes on the full staff, but we don't want them to disconnect that piano. Super important. 60-second helps, but in an even bigger way, these do. I've seen these before. These are my piano puzzle cards. I was going to say one of them. They're the most popular download Colourful Keys blog. So if you don't have them, grab them. This is what they look like. You can kind of see that, not properly. There we go. These are tiny little cards, and they have the staff and a note. They need to already be pretty proficient to be able to identify this, because the smaller, the harder it is to identify in the beginning stages. I have these on little foam backing, so that's how thick they are. The reason they're on that backing is because they're going to sit on the piano keys and you want them to fall through. So put them on some kind of backing. Doesn't have to be this, could be poster board, something like that. And then place them directly on the keys they belong on and try to beat their best time. Each week you could also do a Studio Y challenge. Cassia says, I love the puzzle cards. Yeah, like I said, they're popular. They're one of the favorites. And they are really fantastic because they just make that direct connection. And they can see them all laid out. Oh, they're one after the other and they're one after the other. Sometimes transfer students, for those of you who are wondering about this stuff for transfer students, that can be a lifesaver to make that connection actually happen. And using resources like that, and these guys, these are swoopits, will help you avoid octave disorientation, octave confusion, where they're middle C and supposed to be bass C, and they just don't think that one note is one note. They think it is a note name and that they can basically play any one. I mean, they don't think that intellectually. That's the assumption they've made. And again, that's from this over on note naming and drilling and not doing other activities along the way to structure all of this. We all have so many different ways to review notes. We do. But the reason I wanted to do this workshop today is actually this sequence. So it's bringing it all together and always looking at it from all sides. Where the notes will be really helpful, and I hope these suggestions will be helpful. These Rupert Sight cards are kind of like 60-second challenge, but 2.0, let's call them. They're even harder. In this one, they actually have a finger number, and 2 notes at a time or 1 note at a time. There's 3 different levels. You have to name them as quickly as possible. Not name them. They have to just play them. We're eliminating the step of note naming, but it's about immediately jump the correct spot on the piano, and it has to be the correct E. It can't be the wrong E. Okay? So once we've passed stage 2, we've done most of the work. And now stage 3 is easy peasy. Stage 3 is the ledger lines, and this is something that students often really struggle with. But I think it's because they haven't spent enough time in stage 1 and stage 2. Actually, when they do that, ledger lines are not a problem because they've approached the staff from all different sides and they actually understand it. So it's just a matter of extending that knowledge outside the that are already existing. And they've probably encountered ledger lines a few times up to this point. But you want to take that extra step and really get them to utilize ledger lines and put them into practice, basically. So I have a photo to show you of the next exercise. This is plasticine and chopsticks. And some of you will have seen this on the blog. This is a really fun one, and you can download this on the blog. They're pages with the clef and the notes along correct spots, but then you've to create the lines using chopsticks for the lines and then plasticine for the little lines. And this is what it looks like put together. So that's just a great little activity I love to do with students to get them interacting with the ledger lines and understanding them, and to assess how much they understand. So trying to encourage them to take the initiative to figure out where these things go and how it makes sense, rather than you dictating, put this there, put this there. Keep asking questions all the time. Once they have done an exercise like that, they're actually building things. Could be like that, could be another thing up, anything where they're piecing it together themselves. All they need is a bit of practice with it. So that's where I have a game called Land of the Ledgers, and that's where this would come in. Hopefully you can see that. Can. So in this one, they're actually going to move around the staff, okay? They're going to move up this way, and then down, and then across. It's really hard to go the right way. Back to the finish line. So the reason I love this format for ledger lines is it's not just about naming ledger line notation. It's about moving in intervals around the staff. So still fun intervals. They are the core of everything. And then naming the ledger from there is a piece of cake because they know how much they moved up. And ta-da, right? And I like, the reason I have them go down the side of the staff is, again, connect it all together. It's all one piece. It makes sense. Don't try to memorize two ledger lines, treble C, high C, whatever. Memorize stuff. Figure it out. Figure it out enough times and you will know it in, but you should be able to figure it out first. You have to get the internal logic. Last game I have to show you today is also about, this is a great one at this stage because I start doing these and there's just a few terms along the way. So this is called Teleport, and they have teleporter cards for terms, but their main way they're around is these, and these are just ledger line notes pretty much. That's an easy one. But yeah, they get great practice and they're moving around this board. This is a big one. Which is a railway, and they have teleporter paths. So if they get their terms, little bonus as well as the ledger line notes, if they get their terms right, they're going to teleport. So it's a great incentive for that. So those are the three steps as I see them towards note jazz. And you can get your notes, like I said there, at vibrantmusicteaching.com/bday. That's just a link directly to those notes if you want them from today's workshop. But you also definitely want to go to vibrantmusicteaching.com/birthday because you want to sign up for these emails and get on the workshop tomorrow and get another chance to win. Speaking of chance to win, you have a couple more minutes before we're here to get in your that's an example. VMT, color, answer. For those of you who weren't tuned in at the beginning, this is how you win on one of these prizes, these beautiful, magical teaching prizes. And also how you have an opportunity to win 1 year's VMT membership totally free. At the most, $219.95. So, that's a big gift. And worth so much more than that because you get in on the community, all of these amazing games and so much more, and training, regular courses and all of this stuff. So, and office hours, talk to me if you want to. So, if you're a member or if you're not, either way, you can comment right now to get a chance to one of these beautiful prizes. I will be opening up for someone and then rewrapping it, of course, tomorrow on the next one of these workshops. So get your comment the next couple of minutes. I'm just going to check out some of them. See here said VMT blue, good job, right format. Reading left-hand notes, reading the note but not matching it to the ground on the keyboard. Yeah, two big problems, right? So left-hand notes, I think, is generally a problem of the method book. Not to put blame on method books, but I don't think there should be so much emphasis just on treble clef reading in the beginning. because it leads to that problem, and left hands are important. But it's a choice. Every method is a choice about what to make easy and what to make hard in the beginning, because you do everything straight away. So sometimes we need to catch them up. Our games like Double or Nothing have another one called Base About Face, which is to tackle this very problem. Then not matching it to the correct keyboard. That's where Piano Puzzle and things like Six Challenge, all of those, where they're directly putting it on the key, playing the key to answer, are so important. Apps can be great for that too. What's that one called? I know people Note Rush, Flash Note Derby does this as well. Others where they're literally answering by playing a key, either MIDI or it listening. Piano Maestro is another great one where they're singing it up, but obviously that's doing much more than that. Natalie said VMT Green. I haven't been paying attention to which ones are voted for the most. I wonder which you guys are most excited to open. I don't think many people have said pink. Pink is the biggest one, guys. That doesn't mean the best, but we'll see what you vote for. So VMT, understanding how the notes in the treble move from treble, middle C to G. Don't quite get that one. Do you guys? Move up from middle C to G. I think she means how they connect there. Yeah. Karen, let's see what you said. VMT Yellow, not wanting to learn intervals in school. They teach the sayings. Yeah. That is a bit of a bugbear of mine. And actually, schools do it a few times. When a school teacher genuinely, okay. So if they're very invested in their school music teacher, most kids here won't be because they're a visiting teacher that they don't know very well, or it's their main teacher, like they know that they're not really a music teacher. Generally, primary school music is taught just by the primary teacher. Sometimes they have a visitor, but a lot of the time it's just the primary teacher doing their best because there's no resources. So the kids kind of know that they don't really know as much as, that's not their track. So when I say, listen, forget about the sayings, it's all nonsense, very stupidity, okay? They say, fine. I don't ever tell the other teacher, I just, gently say, listen to me, okay? And that's fine. But what really icky is when a parent tells them the mnemonics. And when that happens, sometimes they can be very invested in them because they think it's this genius thing that they taught them and their dad's a genius and it's all lovely. And it is. But I don't want them to learn that way. It's not really the parents' fault. They're just trying to help, It can get in the way for sure. Sarah said, let's just put that on the screen so I can read it. In order to make students and parents happy at the beginning for them to learn pieces away, I use finger numbers in certain positions. But I think I wait too for note reading because they get panicked when I say that they're next in their lessons, and I think they've relied on the finger numbers. Totally get where you're coming from there, Sarah. Here's the thing. I start all of these things before they've even touched a staff in their method book. So even if they are on the staff and by finger numbers, do all of these things from the very... It doesn't mean that the connection needs to be made straight away to the actual reading. Does that make sense? So do this stuff and it'll come together later, but they have that foundation then and it's not like this big scary thing. I actually, like I say, use mostly Piano Safari these days for my units. So that starts with pre-reading for 2 whole units. Fine. I mean, I'm not touching the staff. I have all that time, all that lovely time to get this stuff ready in a way that's totally not intimidating. Giant floor staff, amazing, so much fun. And then they go, oh, I know, that's the treble clef, which looks like a G. So it's all prepared for them. The foundation is laid before you get to it. So try incorporating some of these activities there if you can. Could be Sarah. Didn't ask. But hopefully I'm pronouncing her name correctly. But just try incorporating some of these from the start and not chilling it when they're doing their reading. Yes, it seems disconnected and like the opposite of saying the whole time, but actually when you do that in the beginning and then you bring it to, a few weeks in, it makes a lot of sense, and the light bulb moment is so fun for them. Oh, I love this one, Carolyn. VMT Blue. So she's voting for blue. Is everyone keeping track? I'm not going to I'm not going to give any hints about what's in any of them, but they're all fun. Carolyn said, students trying to figure out the name of every note they are playing as they are playing instead of the relationship between the notes. This is my big thing I'm trying to avoid with all this interval work in the beginning. That's why we don't touch note names for a while. Yes, we do the landmark notes, but it's really a precursor, and the main thing we're doing is intervals in intervals. We do not care what they are called. And when that foundation is there, in place, when that's their frame of mind as they go in, it does help to avoid that problem down the track. I'm going to say they're never going to do it, but it's way less likely than if they note names first. That's such a big pitfall. Jennifer Fox said, Note Quest has an interval category too, which great. Note Quest, I'm presuming, is an app. I haven't heard of that, Jennifer. I'll have to check. It sounds great. Karen said, not wanting to learn by intervals in school. Sorry, that's the one I already read. That was the one I was meaning to look at. Confusing low F and low G with clef top line F and top space G. What do you mean? Yeah, that's why I've actually started teaching only the low ones. Again, because I like the face jibbity approach. That is for that. So, maybe eliminate the top ones. Maybe I don't need them for a while. Break the rules, Janelle. Fun. Okay, thank you all so much for joining me. This has been super fun, and I hope you've enjoyed it too. Please, if you're live or on the replay, you can... Oh, too many comments here to see. Still write these things in, okay? You've got until my next one of these to write them in. And my next one of these will be tomorrow afternoon time, so it's a little bit less than 24 hours this time around. Please do continue to comment and tune in for the next one. Hop on over to vibrantmusicteaching.com/birthday to sign up for the emails if you aren't getting them, because that's how you join me live, have all these fun chats, hopefully enjoy it up, and also get in with the first shout of commenting on the video and make it before the time is up. There's going to be one of these every single day this week leading up to Vibrant Music Teaching's first birthday, and I'm super worried about them. I hope you'll join me for more of them and that you find today's session valuable. I see lots of thank yous coming in, so thank you all much for joining me. It's been absolutely a hoot, and I hope to catch you tomorrow. Bye for now, guys.